Hello, BookTube. I'm Peg, and I love book prizes. I've actually put the word book prize back in my name of my channel. This has been a great week for me. I have to admit, for the last year, it's been a year that we've been in this strange world. I haven't been able to read that well. Start something and finish it, not finish it, start something else. I've had a hard time concentrating. And just this last week, I don't know if it's spring is in the air or we do have some hope now or whatever it is, but I have just come back with a great urge to read, and there's so many good book prize lists just come out. I always want to read them all. So anyway, I always start on several at the same time, so I thought I'd report on what I'm reading, whether I finish it or not, and maybe get some input from you all if you're reading any of the book prizes that are coming up. First of all, though, I have to say I do have knitting in my channel name, and that has been a big, safe thing for me to do this whole last year. I have a thing, a shawl, cape, whatever you want to call it, that I've worked on nearly all winter. I was in this wonderful web thing where it is a knitting channel and a great knitting designer called Stephen West. He's great. His designs are like works of art. He had what he called a knit-along. It started in the fall, and every week you paid for the pattern and got your yarn together, but you didn't know what you were going to be knitting. So every week he'd give you another step. And the first one was this top part, which he called the honeycomb part, you can see. And actually there's a hat like this too that you can make to match. And then the next week was these kind of square dots. The next week was diamonds. You can't tell, but the dark things form a diamond. And then some more different squares. And then the very last one was chevrons. Now you're supposed to have 5 chevrons. And I just couldn't knit on this anymore. I wanted to wear it. So anyway, there's my chevrons. And for any of you that are interested in knitting, you probably know about Ravelry, the great knitting channel, and there's over 3,000 pictures of this knit as people knit it along with it. It's a really fun thing to do, especially during this winter. So now it's getting hot. I have this nice wool thing to wear, but I just decided I had to read it today. Had to wear it today. Okay, let's get on to the book prizes. I've got 3 that I've been reading at, and I want to talk a little bit about. The first one is the, where's my mind? Walter Scott Prize. It is for historical fiction, and it's usually fairly literary fiction. I mean, historical by its term. You realize that the author probably did a lot of research because, historical fiction has a lot of true things in it that happen, and there's some great ones in this. The Longlist is out, the short list isn't out yet, and I just think there's some great ones in this. I'll show you one I've started on called A Room Made of Leaves by Grenville. She's an Australian. She's written, I think, 4 other books about Australia, and I've read a couple of them. Incidentally, there are 4 books on the Walter Scott long list from Australia. So some people were complaining about some of the lists not having them, but I think we'll be glad for that because this year we've seen a lot more Australian books on here and books reviews. Okay, this one has to do with, I think it was like 1700s Australian when the first ships of prisoners came to settle Australia. And it's a story of a woman named Elizabeth MacArthur, who's married to John MacArthur, who I believe is a real character. I need to look it up in Wikipedia. And he actually becomes quite famous there. And it shows her viewpoint of him, and they weren't convicts, but they went on the convict ship over to Australia, Sydney, and their life there. And it's just really getting good. Again, I haven't finished it. I figure if I haven't finished it, I can't give any spoilers away. But he is not a nice person at this point, from her point of view anyway. Okay, some more others that would like to read from the Walter Scott list are the Tolstoy Estate. Now this one is $40-something on Amazon, so it must not have been published here yet. But this looks really interesting. It takes place during World War II when the Germans are going into Russia and want a big building for their field hospital, and they actually take over Tolstoy's estate. And the story of that there, I need this to go back down in price a little bit before I get it. So let me know if you see it on Kindle or anywhere besides being expensive. Okay, that looks good. And the other one I've started, it's called Islands of Mercy by Rose Tremaine. And she is well known in the historical novel field. I believe she's had several others that have been on the Walter Scott even. And this one starts off in England, where there's a woman who's called the Angel of the Baths or something. It takes place in Bath, which I understand they have hot baths back then anyway. And she's a nurse and I guess just very capable. And I haven't got much into it, but there seems to be both a woman love interest and a man love interest in her life, and much traveling that she does. And she goes to Borneo and different islands and meets this other man who's Raj in the Indian setup there. So really sounds good, and I like books from that period. Okay. It's on Kindle, but I don't think you can get the actual book yet, but I'm sure it'll be out soon. Okay. The next one I took a look at was the Faulkner Awards, and they have a fiction section. I haven't followed it too much before, but they have a lot of good ones on it, some overlapping with the Women's Prize, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And this is one I had seen on another prize list, The Secret Lives of Church Ladies. Oh, I'm getting so much glare. Anyway, this is a wonderful book. Let me know if you remember. It was on another book prize and well spoken of. But it's short stories, but it's about a black community that most of them do go to the same church, even to meet the preacher of the church. He's quite a guy. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you too much about it. The stories are just so enjoyable. They have a warm tone. I mean, there's some bad things that happen, but I just love the tone of them. I'll tell you, my favorite one was called Peach Cobbler. You'll never think of Peach Cobbler the same way after you read that story. I have to tell you, it has some hot sex and illicit affairs in it, and some cooking tips too. So that's a great one. I love this book. Two more that are on it are the next two I'm going to show from the Women's Prize, which the Longlist just came out. So I thought I'd save it for that. Actually, for the Women's Prize, I read about it. I've seen several really good videos on it, and I picked out what most people seem to think, some research, are the three most likely to take the whole thing. And I've read these. Well, mostly. I haven't quite finished them. And I thought, why not start with the best? Who knows? I'm probably not going to be able to read 16 books. So anyway, let me just tell you about the ones I've started. They all, I believe, could be winners. So anyway, most people know about the Vanishing Half, have heard all about it. It's won something else. It's been on a lot of book lists. Has to do with a town in the South where it's all black people, but they're very light-skinned, and they want it to be that way. And there's twin sisters that are in this, and they leave town. Like one's kind of wild, the other's quite studious. But they're twins, and their life after they leave. And I mean, it covers the gamut of all kinds of topics, racial topics. Same-sex topics. There's some I'm getting a place where there's a trans character, which I'm really interested about. In fact, I read these prizes so I can understand what's going on in the world today. at my age, I don't talk to a lot of people about the different things and how things are changing in society. Well, none of us talk to many people this year, but I read this Women's Prize in particular to find out what young people are thinking and doing now and what's going on in the world now. So these have all been good for that. Okay, the next one is Transcendent Kingdom. This deals with a young woman from Ghana who is a doctoral student at, what is this? It's in San Francisco. It's south of San Francisco. It's a great university, Stanford University, in a field where she studies, you might say, addiction in mice and how they get addicted to things. And I have to say that addiction does play quite a part. It shows a little bit of her life growing up. She has a brother and a mother who have immigrated from Ghana, and the brother is a great, very talented basketball player and gets in trouble with drugs, and she goes through that. And it's just now getting to her life in California. Actually, her mother has come to her visit, and her mother's not real easy to be around, so her mother's come to visit, and she's starting to have some relationships in the lab where she works with other people. And I'm really interested to see how this will come out. And yeah, okay. And the one that I think probably it won't win because people either hate it or love it. And I have to say I have a little bit of both. It's called Exciting Times, and I must tell you, the woman author, Dolan, had a big article in The Guardian last week that she is autistic and explains how autism affects her writing, has affected her this year when people thought, yeah, it'd be great to, if you like staying at home alone. But it was a great article, and I think she's a great writer. She just looks at things a little different. And again, I haven't finished it, so I'll tell you what the setup is. There's a young woman, Irish woman, 22 or something, who goes to Hong Kong to get away from Ireland, and she teaches English as a foreign language. That seems to be what a lot of people go to foreign places are able to do. And she has both a man and a woman in love with her, and it's very different. It seems like it might be very true. She's quite a bit younger than both of them, so I wish she had a little more agency. I mean, she's like, oh, if they like me, I like them. Right now, this part of the book, I wish she'd make some of her own decisions. So maybe she will. So I'm looking forward to finish this one. So let me know if you've read any of these or want to read them. And I'm hoping to read as many on the women's list as I can. Be back soon. Bye.